Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers and then we'll start our Thursday class, Upanishad class. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurbhavaswaha Tatsavitravarenayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat Asto Ma Sadgamya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya Mrityorma Gamya. Om Sahnavavatu Sahnavunaktu Saviryam Karvavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti 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 Om. Let's open our books. So we are going to start the new section today. So chapter 2 and section 2. So name of this section is Shishu Brahman. So this section is called Shishu Brahman because it describes the meditation on the prana through the analogy of a Shishu. Shishu means a baby. In this case, a young one of a cow. Prana is identified with the creative principle Hiranyagarbha. Both the sentient and insentient are included in it. Because sometimes we think that prana is only in human beings, or maybe at the most animals or plants. But the difference between the two, sentient and insentient, is that in the sentient, prana is manifested, and in the insentient, it remains unmanifest. That is the difference. But prana is everywhere. The whole creation can be said to be the manifestation of this cosmic prana in different degrees. Least in the so-called inert objects of the mineral kingdom, greater in the vegetable and animal kingdom, and still greater in the human beings, and in higher and higher degrees in the superhuman beings, like devatas, celestials, mains. So it is manifest in some degree in all thoughts and actions also. But in the inorganic substances, it's latent. This prana residing in our own body is the object of meditation in this section. It manifests itself especially in the sense organs and the motor organs. So it is tied to the energy in the system by the food that we take in through several organs. And a person who knows this truth about the prana knows also about the gross and the subtle bodies and the four koshas: physical, vital, mental, intellectual. The first four koshas. And also their functions are the manifestation of this prana. So this is what we're going to see in the first mantra. This is a very short section. Only 4 mantras are there. In the second mantra, the Upanishad gives the 7 secret names of prana, manifesting itself especially in the eye. And what are these 7 secret names of Pran? Rudra, Prajanya, Aditya, Agni, Indra, Prithvi, and Dhyu. These guards who prevent decay, who are indestructible, worship the Pran manifesting in the eye. These 7 guards preside over the 7 things connected with the eyes. For example, the red streaks, the watery portion, the pupil, the dark iris, the white portion, the lower eyelash, and the upper eyelash. We'll see that how this Rishi is explaining all this. He says, we should meditate on these divinities as present in our own eyes, which are waiting upon the Pran. Because all divinities, they take care of a meditator who through meditation realizes that the divine Pran is that unifying factor which is supporting all the limbs, all the organs, so that all of them can do their actions. So these are the first 2 mantras we are going to go through today. So let's open our books on page number 128. In the middle, this is section 2 starts. Yo ha vai shishum sadhanam sa pratyadhanam sasthunam sadamam ved sapat ha dvishtoho bhratrihi vyan varunadhi ayam vam shishu ayo ayam madhyama pranaha tasya edam ev dhanam idam pratyadhanam pranaha suthuna annam dama. Whoever knows the calf, so that's the Shishu he's talking about, with its abode, special place, post, and tether. What is a tether? Tether is like a tie. Destroys his 7 jealous relatives. This vital force in the body is verily the calf. This body itself is its abode. The head is its special place. Vigor its post, and food its tether. So we saw that in the last section, there was a story of King Ajatashatru with Garge. And he said, I will teach you Brahma. So that was the topic in the last section. And we saw that he declared that world has come from Brahma. In Brahma, it subsists. And at the end, it's dissolved in that too. So this world again is produced from and maintained and dissolved in the 5 great principles: sky, air, fire, water, and earth, which are only the name and the form alone, but actually it's Brahma. This name and form are truth in the empirical realm. Towards the end of the first section, we learned that Brahma is the truth of this truth. All this has been Brahma alone. That's what King Ajatashatru said. So the question is, why these elements are called truth? We'll see the answer to that in the next section. Because in the next section, the subject matter is about the gross and subtle nature of objects. The elements and the prana, which is perceived by the senses and the mind, either as gross or subtle in form, we are discussing in this particular section. So in the next two sections, we'll see the truth of the elements. Brahm as the truth of that truth. But in this present section, the vital force is explained, the prana. So we got to see what is mainly discussed in each section. Vital force. Secret names, he is giving it to us. And the nature of these names also. So this illustration of a newborn baby, a calf, explains the subtle body, which is mainly constituted of the vital force with the help of this illustration. He who knows the newborn calf together with its abode, that means the special resort, peg and rope, obtains this result. And what is this result which he obtains? He says he destroys his 7 hostile relatives. These 7 hostile relatives refer to the 7 apertures in the body. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and the mouth. Why they are hostile? Because through these apertures, we perceive the objective world. Our attention is taken out through these. So that's why they are referred to as the hostile relatives. They appear very friendly, but they divert our vision away from the self. Not only that, they attach us to the sense objects because they are extrovert by nature. Eyes want to see outside. Ears want to hear the noise outside, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. So the self-existent Lord made the tendency of the senses flow outward. That's why we call them external, but not the internal self. We studied that in Kat Upanishad also. The senses run towards the objects and cling to them. All the men of little intelligence, they are called Bala, walk into the net of outspread death. Just like anyone's hostile relatives putting on a friendly garb conspire to take a person's life. So that's how the sense organs are. Seems like that they are helping us with all the sense enjoyments. They even delude us. We get entangled because of them into the network of desires and the actions. Outcome is pain and sorrow, misery and anxiety, desperation and delusion, which is practically extinction or death of the soul in the individual. So that means we don't even know who we are. We get so absorbed into this outer world. That's why this Rishi called them hostile. But that individual who knows this newborn calf, the pran, the subtle body dwelling in the middle of the body, to whom the sense organs are attached, becomes free from the evil of sense enjoyment. How? Because it has been said in the mantra that death did not take possession of the chief pran, and that seeing it unperturbed and unperished, the senses identified themselves with that pran and came to known after it. Similarly, when a person knows this central pran, which is explained through this symbology of a calf, and when a person meditates upon it, identifies with it, wards off all the hostile attachment of the seven relatives in the form of sense organs, will become free from death in the shape of sense enjoyment. Just as the senses themselves became free from death by becoming identical with the chief pran. So again, this pran in this mantra is compared to a newborn calf because both cannot directly contact the sense objects like the sense organs. The chief pran cannot go out like the senses. That's why it is compared to the calf, which cannot move out of its abode. Senses are attached to the objects. Pran has no attachment to any particular object. See the difference? Pran is detached, but the senses are attached. And the sense organs are called the relatives. So the newborn calf and the pran are alike in nature because their attitude to external objects is similar. And what is that? Indifference. Udasin. A place or an abode is where something is placed, or someone abides. That's called abode. So pran has this body for its abode because it abides there. And we all can feel that. So this body, the dwelling place of the vital force, is the abode of a newborn calf. Because only when the sense organs are staying in the body, they function as channels of sense perception. And not when they are absorbed as while in deep sleep. This is another thing we looked at in the previous section. What happens in the deep sleep? That King Ajatashatru made it very clear to us. When the eye, ear, and the other senses are withdrawn during deep and profound sleep, the individual consciousness is united in its source and is not perceived. That's a deep sleep. It is only when the respective senses are active in different centers of this body, the individual consciousness is seen to experience objective perception. And he gave the example of that man is sleeping Where is he? Who is he? They had to shake that man to wake him up. So the abode of the vital force has been determined and defined in this mantra. And what is the special result which is discussed here? This special resort refers to the head with its 7 apertures. The 7 apertures are all in the head. Our eyes, our ears, the nostrils, the mouth. It is said that the pran has its special seat in particular parts of the head. So the head in the body is the special resort. When a person is about to die, the pran absorbs in it the various sense organs which are centered in the brain. The energy which is produced by food and which maintains life by means of respiration is the peg over here. Peg to which this pran is tied to the body. The rope with which it is tied is the food, which maintains the gross body and also helps the subtle body. And the aggregate of the inner organs to live in it. So food is the link which keeps the vital force fixed in the body, as a rope keeps the calf tied to a post. By comparing food with the rope of the calf, the Upanishad refers to all perceptions or cognitions through all organs which sustain the individuality, either directly by themselves or indirectly. An object that is presented to an individual is the food of that individual. So it's not just the food which we eat. Any object is the food. When we see something through the eyes, that particular scene is the food for the eyes. When we hear something from our ears, that is the food for the ears also. So that which supports, maintains, or preserves a thing is the food for that thing. In other words, you can say food is that which feeds and sustains individuality. That's why the term food for thoughts. Individual consciousness exists in the midst of matter, which is food. He is the enjoyer because he enjoys the food of matter. Even this individual body is food for him. The enjoyer is the person who exists in the middle of matter or food. So food is that which is enjoyed. Pleasure, pain, delusion, everything is food. Because there's no knowledge of the essence or quality of the source when it is not manifest. So the manifest is food, and the unmanifest also is a food. So the intellect and the other organs manifest themselves. And then the conscious subject to the experience, the objects which are food. This is what happens. So food is experienced as an object when it's manifest and as ignorance of that object when it's unmanifest. That means we don't know. It is unmanifested, just like in deep sleep. But remember, everything lives upon food. Pran lives in the body upon food. The sun takes food for himself through his rays. Fire blazes up with food. It is said in some other Upanishad like that. We have done the Prashan Upanishad also. The seer in the Prashan Upanishad describes the creation of food and life. And the terms used over there were Rai and Pran, if you remember. Two aspects of the one creator, Rai and Pran. The whole universe is the effect of the interaction of food and life, matter and energy, which are again food and the eater of the food. Life, which is Pran, is the same as energy. Food is converted into energy. Energy, which is Pran, is said to eat food. Again, going back to the Prashan Upanishads, that seer said that sun is energy, moon is matter. All this merely food, whatever seen or not seen. So sun is compared to the eater of food, the Pran, whose food is the moon. Moon is controlled and enlivened by the light and the energy of the sun. We all know that. Sun is said to be the eater of the moon, which is his food. So the whole universe is only a manifestation of food or matter and its eater, which is Pran. Accordingly, time, as controlled by the sun and as manifest in the forms of Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, the bright and the dark fortnights, day and night, is described as constituting food and eater of food also. The bright half being the effect of sun's light and the dark half the effect of moon. See, that's how the seers of the Vedas, they described. So the food which is eaten, which is said to be sustaining life in the individual body, gets divided into three parts. Because sometimes we are just eating food without thinking about what is happening with that food. That which is the grossest becomes feces. That which is medium becomes the flesh. And that which is the subtlest becomes the mind. That's why we say that what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, how much you eat, it's affecting your entire body and mind. The same thing happens with the water also. Water which is drunk also gets divided into three parts. That which is grossest becomes urine. That which is medium, blood. And that which is subtlest, the prana. The same way the fire in its grossest form, they say, becomes bones. In the medium form, becomes marrow. And in the subtlest form, becomes speech. This is said in the Chandogya Upanishad. Food plays a very important part in the scheme of individual life. That's why our rishis, for a human life, when a baby starts to eat food, there's a special sanskar for it. Anprashan. It's a very important stage in life. When food is not eaten, the body decays. Life leaves the body. It's almost like going back to this analogy of calf. Calf becomes free and goes away when its rope is loosened. In another scripture, there's a Rishi Shvetketu. After a fast for 15 days, he lost his memory. Could not recite the Vedas. Because for 15 days he did not eat, drink, anything. Afterwards, when he ate food, he regained his memory and he started reciting the Vedas. This story is also in Chandogya Upanishad. This shows to what extent the body owes its existence to food and how it is able to sustain life within the body. So it's not just for that calf, but us also. We are tied with that. That is our tether. Do we remember God at that time when we eat food? Do we thank God? So this body is said to be the dwelling place of Pran. This head is its special resort in the body, and energy of the individual is the post to which the Pran is tethered by means of food. Let's look at one more verse today. Verse number 2. Tam etah सप्त अक्षित्य उपतिष्ठन्ते तद्या इमा अक्षन लोहिने राजस्य ताभिरेनम रद्रो अन्वायतः अथ या अक्ष पस्ताभिः प्रजन्यः या कनिनकः तय अदित्यः यत् कृष्णं तेन अग्निः यत् शुक्लं तेन इंद्रः अधर येनम व्रतन्यः पृथ्व्यः अन्वायता द्योर उतरेयः न अस्य अन्नम क्षीयते य एवं वेद. These 7 decay preventing gods worship it. For instance, through these red lines that are in the eye, Rudra is subservient to it. Through the water that is in the eye, Prajanya. Through the pupil, the sun. Through the dark portion, fire. Through white portion, Indra. Through the lower eyelid, the earth is subservient to it. And through the upper eyelid, heaven. He who knows thus never gets short of food. So this is a verse number 2. And we saw in the preceding mantra how this body is the abode of prana. So now in this mantra, this Rishi is revealing the special abode of the prana where it manifests itself clearly when it is in the body. The eye is the center of perception. So that's why he has taken up the eye over here. During the waking state, outward cognition takes place mainly through this center, through our eyes. In the morning, we just open our eyes. At night, when we sleep, we close our eyes. Indra, by name, is this person here in the right eye. That's what this Upanishadic mantra is saying. Indra, right eye. When Vaishvanar, the self in the waking state, identifies himself with the enjoyment of gross object, it is known by the name Indra. Even though the self in the waking state pervades throughout the body, also in all the organs, but it is especially manifest in the eye as the perceiver of the objects. So, in that sense, it is said to be the special abode of the vital force. Now, let's look at the seven imperishable beings which he is talking about, who stand near this vital force in the eye. Rudra, to be identified through meditation with the red lines in the eye. Prajanya, to be identified through meditation with water in the eye. There's a wetness in the eye. We all know if a person has dry eyes, how uncomfortable it feels. The deity in the sun, to be identified with the pupil in the eye. The deity of fire, to be identified with the black portion in the eye. And the Indra, to be identified with the white portion in the eye. The presiding deity in the earth, to be identified with the lower eyelash in the eye. The deity in the heaven, to be identified in meditation with the upper eyelash in the eye. So these seven deities, Rudra, Prajanya, sun, fire, Indra, earth, and heaven, are united with the vital force whose main center of manifestation is the eye. We all recognize that eye is the predominant among the senses which receives objective perception relating to the universe of the waking state. So he's asking us to meditate on this. When we say that this body is a temple, we understand that in the Mooladhara chakra, there's a Ganesh, the Swadhisthana chakra, Brahma, Manipur chakra, there's a Vishnu, Anahat chakra, Shiva, Vishuddha chakra, Atma, Agya chakra, our Isht Devta, Sahasar chakra, our Guru. But now this Rishi is taking us towards this sense organ of ours, the eye, and he says there are seven deities over there. When we understand this, that deities are there, with these eyes, will we see something which is crude, which is unnoble, which is filthy? We want to give something very pure, something very pleasing, something divine to these divinities. That is the purpose of these mantras. Truly identifying this physical body as the temple. Deho Devalya Prokta. He says he who knows that these seven gods always serve the vital force as its food will have his food never exhausted. So that means we have to meditate. We got to see that the devatas reside right inside my body. I have to recognize that this is a temple. So this is the purpose of these mantras. That food is important. Food ties us. The prana also. Then at the same time, all these sense organs, if we let them loose, if we let them just go into the outer world, become extroverted, that is harmful for us, harmful for our growth, harmful in this journey. So next two verses will finish next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vaisheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.